These are aggressive living things that have no idea what century they're in, and they'll defend themselves violently if necessary.
Species is this? It's a velociraptor.
As you can tell, in today's video we're going to be talking about the deleted scenes from Jurassic Park. Now, a brand new thing that we've got in this video is some timestamps. So if there's any specific chapters you want to get straight to, then you can find them in the description. And before we begin, don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more awesome Lost Media videos like this. The film opens up on the island of Isa Nublar, where a new theme park is being assembled called Jurassic Park. Although things take a turn for the worst, where in an accident, one of the employees gets savagely murdered by one of the Jurassic Park animals. Called upon by the park's investors, they request for experts to come and evaluate the island to confirm that it is safe. John Hammond, the creator of Jurassic Park, invites two paleontologists, that being Alan Grant, an introvert that doesn't appreciate the company of other children, along with his professional and personal partner, Ellie Sattler, who's very rounded and approachable, essentially the complete opposite of Alan Grant. John Hammond also invites Dr. Ian Malcolm, a mathematician that specialises in the chaos theory. Upon landing on the island, the scientists are astonished to find that the island is home to living, breathing dinosaurs. Through the arrival to the visitor centre, they find out through a Bob Kurtz cartoon as to how they were able to resurrect the dinosaurs by retrieving blood samples from dinosaurs from mosquitoes preserved in fossilised amber. Despite the marvel and scientific ingenuity, the paleontologists and the doctor are rather incomprehensible about the existence of the park, towards the ethics and responsibility of resurrecting a long-gone dynasty, and the possible consequences that might come along with it. The group are then introduced to John Hammond's grandchildren, Lex and Tim Murphy. They accompany the invited group through the Jurassic Park tour. However, the tour turns out to be very underwhelming, as many of the dinosaurs fail to show up, and the group comes across a sickly Triceratops. With Ellie's concerns about the Triceratops' well-being, she returns back to Jurassic Park headquarters, splitting from the rest of the group. Later that evening, computer programmer Dennis Nedry, who has been secretly bribed by a rival company to steal some of the embryo samples, he evades detection by shutting down the security systems for Jurassic Park, which in consequence leads to the breakout of many of the dinosaurs, with the only survivors from the tour group being Ian, injured and unable to walk, and Alan with the grandchildren, where now the three of them have got to make it across the island back to the Sanction and avoid detection from the loose dinosaurs. In the early 80s, book author Michael Crichton was trying to write a screenplay where the plot was evolved around trying to clone a pterodactyl, but Crichton was struggling trying to think of a serviceable reason as to why such an animal would be cloned in the first place. Drawing from real-life genetic modification, Crichton settled upon the idea through the animal being created through financial gain, with the creature in question being placed in an amusement park for the monetizing value of entertainment. Doing research through genetic understanding for the time, and expanding the list of resurrected extinct dinosaurs, through many rewrites and publication rejections, that and more would slowly format his story, Jurassic Park. Although at this stage was written for the sole purpose of being a novel, not a feature film. But that wouldn't last too long though. Before the book was publicised, film studios took notice of the franchise potential with the novel, which led to 4 major studios bidding for the novel to adapt to the silver screen. It would ultimately be Universal to acquire the film rights. Directing duties would be placed under Steven Spielberg, who actually bribed Universal Pictures to bid for the film rights. Part of the deal between Universal and Spielberg, that Universal would finance Spielberg's pet project, Schindler's List. in exchange for Jurassic Park being filmed first. So as Spielberg began principal photography on Schindler's List, he was just in the midst of post-production with Jurassic Park. The uncovering of the Velociraptor skeletons was originally much more extended, and introduced to our characters through much more rigative dialogue, with Ellie and Alan providing an explanation as to how these specific raptors were killed off, with a prime focus towards the raptor claw, and would be the same claw that would appear throughout the movie. A couple of scenes later, where Ellie and Alan were discussing about kids, there was initially a kiss between the both of them, showing that both characters were romantically involved with one another. This shot was sneakily trimmed down by cutting to a shot of the helicopter, then cutting back to the characters. Cunning-eyed viewers had noted that you can tell both characters are slightly further up the hill. Although at least comparing both shots, you can't really tell where they are on the hill. At least I don't personally notice the incongruity. After the exhibit tour, where the scientists want to see the hatching lab, Alan rushes to the door first, forcefully trying to get it open. Donald the lawyer tries to convince Hammond to not let them on in, and as the scene prevails when Alan holds the raptor, Ellie and Malcolm have an extensive conversation, upon Malcolm's early comment of how life finds a way. Another deleted scene explains as to why the grandchildren are on the island, and also the exact whereabouts of their parents. On the way out of the visitor centre, John Hammond explains to the scientists that their parents are going for a divorce, so paying their granddad a visit, it's just a nice way for them to get away from it all. While being cut from the film, we still get a scene early on mentioning about the divorce.
He had to leave early. He wants to be with his daughter. She's getting a divorce.
Well, I understand that, but we've been advised to deal with the situation now.
This little plot addition was later on reused in Jurassic World. Trim sequences within the tour would have had hints that Lex had a crush on Dr. Grant, such as saying in a dreamy voice that Dr. Grant is really smart. And supposedly, the voice narration provided in the car tour was supposed to be done by that of James Earl Jones. And during the tour there would have been a couple of corny gimmicks, such as corny horror music playing through the car speakers outside of the T-Rex enclosure, where Alan Grant, frustrated by the music, would have thrustily turned it off. Initially, there was a conclusion towards the sickly Triceratops. In the film, the characters believed that the Triceratops had ingested some of the poison berries, but finds no evidence in the animal's droppings. But then in the cut footage, Tim points towards some smooth rocks. Both Dr. Grant and Dr. Sattler both excitingly conclude that these must be gizzard stones. Gizzard stones is when an animal with no teeth ingests stones, where the stones help to grind up the unchewed food. And once the stones are too smooth, they get regurgitated, which modern birds and even some species of dinosaurs were known to do. Then in the same sequence, Lex gets a little bit agitated and a bit upset because she's hungry, only then to be knocked down by a little baby Triceratops. This scene was fully storyboarded and the animatronic baby was produced, but for whatever reason on the day of filming, they decided not to film the scene, although the animatronic baby was repurposed for Lost World. After the T-Rex breakout, there was supposed to be a couple of extended dialogue scenes between Alan and the kids, but there's very little confirmation if they were filmed or not. But there are several photographs out there that depict several shots and angles that we didn't see in the final cut. And in the shooting script, Alan would have read a map of the pamphlet that gives him some leeway as to where the visitor centre is, which is very briefly mentioned in the final cut. And the final known deleted scene from Jurassic Park was an extension from when Ellie and Grant reunite, where Ellie would be calling out for Alan to come towards the bunker and asking about the exact whereabouts of the kids. From the available information, the scene still doesn't explain as to what exactly happened to Ellie's pink shirt, as it disappears between her encounter with the raptor and her reunion with Dr. Grant, where the deleted scene would have come just before that scene. And that's about it. There might be one or two more cut sequences, but these were at least the major ones. But there were some scripted scenes that were changed up while filming, such as during the scene where the T-Rex escapes, Ian Malcolm was supposed to run off, just like the lawyer character, upon the T-Rex breakout, but Jeff Goldblum felt that his character was just too cool to run off. He pitched this heroic scene to Spielberg where his character would help with the distraction, giving Alan enough time to rescue the children. Spielberg loved the idea, thus he changed it from the script on the day of filming. According to Jeff Goldblum, when he originally met Martin Ferrero, who plays the lawyer in the film, he originally wanted to convince Spielberg to change that scene as well, to have the character Ian to die off, and to have his character the lawyer to live on, just like in the original book. Although as we all know from the final cut, his character doesn't quite make it past that scene. Although years later, College Humor did a sketch, where Martin Ferrero reprises his role as the lawyer, desperately trying to get out of the same situation. As for the original finale, as originally storyboarded, John Hammond would have turned up at the last minute at the visitor centre with a shotgun shooting off the velociraptors, and saving Ellie, Alan and the kids. Another idea that was storyboarded, to have the displayed dinosaur skeletons fall onto and finish off the velociraptors. But then they decided to include the T-Rex for the ending of the film, to just save the main characters in the nick of time. This was done because the Rex was such a popular dinosaur but then yet appeared so infrequently in the movie. Although allegedly, in the original theatrical cut of the movie, there's an additional shot of the T-Rex bursting through the wall. Then the Rex promptly finishes off the raptors, with this additional shot never being included in any home media release. Visual effect artist Stephen Williams, who worked on the film, when he was asked about the scene in question, he very much said that the shot was never created in the first place. The legitimacy as to how exactly the T-Rex got inside the visitor's centre has been a large contentment of scrutinising the movie for years, so the origins of this alleged shot probably came from fans who were trying to rationalise upon their nitpicks and quirks about the movie. None of these deleted scenes have ever been available for the home media market. Counting aside some of the publicised photographs that depict the cut sequences, the only deleted scenes that have been officially available is an exclusive shot from the trailer where Ellie picks a leaf. She can be seen holding the leaf early in the movie in the final cut. In a rare press kit of behind the scenes footage, where in one of the clips you can hear Richard Attenborough, in character as John Hammond, talking about the children's parents going through divorce. It's so balmy that close to 3 decades later, that we have yet to have seen any official releases from such a high profile movie, especially one that really shook up the media industry. Although at least from the available information, it doesn't sound like we're missing out too much, as I wouldn't describe any of these sequences being majorly game changing. With the exception of the Triceratops scene, there's probably not any other cut dinosaur footage to be found. It's just more or less extended dialogue. It's easy to see why some of these scenes were cut out. Just little moments that don't overly affect the film too much. Yes, there are some things that do go unexplained, like the poorly Triceratops, but the lack of explanation for tiny plot points doesn't exactly destroy the film, and perhaps including extensive dialogue could have slowed down the pacing of the movie. At least without seeing the original cut, that's my hunch. But I think it's a pretty safe guess that not all the deleted scenes were that necessary. The final cut, we've still got a Spielberg masterpiece. Anyway, this wouldn't be the last time that the franchise would have cutscenes. Some of them perhaps have more drastic cuts compared to the first movie, but that's for another video. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you really enjoyed this video. Make sure you check out my other videos on the channel, and if you want to keep up to date with ongoing videos, then follow me on social media. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.